Does the thought of having to perfectly narrow down your niche ever feel just a little bit daunting? I have talked to a lot of women in our community who feel this way too. So if you do, and that is like speaking right to you, you are so not alone. But today, I'm going to challenge the traditional business and marketing advice that tells you you must get clear about your niche before you move forward. And I'm going to give you some massive permission to start exactly where you are. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the kickoff of a really special series that I'm going to do. We are taking it back to the basics. And I am a big believer that business doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's actually one of the reasons why we created our six-figure school course, which if you have your eye on that, it opens again in April. So mark that down. We're going to be doing our spring class in April. But even if you're not quite ready for a program like that, I wanted to give you some tangible steps to follow and take you into some of the content that we teach in that course, because it's literally designed to give you a step-by-step playbook to follow in order to take your idea from, even if it's already a business, take it to the next level. Or if you're just formulating how you're going to serve and how you're going to monetize, it gives you the exact steps to follow to get that idea launched. And these episodes, so I'm going to do about 7 weeks over, the course of solo episodes, guest episodes, and we're going to take you deeper into some of these concepts that we teach in the course, because having gone through it now a couple of times with the women in our community, and huge shout out to those of you who came through the program last year, there are certain things that I noticed as themes. Places where people get stuck or where they just get in their own way. And I've been there too. So I say this with such compassion that all I want to do is help you to not get stuck on these little details that just aren't as important in the very beginning. And this series is not only for those of you who are in the beginning stages of business. In fact, going through this material had me look at my own business and our goals for 2021. And it had me realize, wow, okay, by focusing for just a little bit on the basics, it actually helps propel you forward even faster. Because you can't build on a foundation that isn't solid. So no matter what stage of business you're at, or if you just know that there's more for you, this series over the next 7 weeks is really for you. And so I hope you listen all the way through. Even the guest episodes, the people that I'm bringing in are specifically people who inspire me by being masters in the areas that we're talking about each week. So I'm really excited for it. We haven't done this before where we do an actual series of like episodes that are best if you listen to them in a specific order, but I think you're going to like this. It was really, really fun to create. So we're going to be reviewing some of the most fundamental elements of a business, and again, a big or a small one. And the first 2 modules of Six-Figure School really aim to help you answer 2 questions. And those questions are, who do you serve and what problem do you solve? Because if you think about it, at its core, a business, all that a business is an entity that solves problems for a profit, right? So people can solve problems for no profit, and that's great too. But if you are out to have a business, you're solving those problems for a profit. But what I noticed is that these 2 questions, answering them, can oftentimes be a big stumbling block, especially when you're in the early stages, because feeling a lack of clarity, especially around those 2 areas, is almost paralyzing. It's like, well, gosh, I couldn't possibly move forward if I don't know exactly who I'm speaking to. You've probably listened to other podcasts or read books that talk about like narrowing down your niche. You have to get focused. You have to, know exactly the one problem you solve. And While, yes, the goal is over time to get really, really clear about who you serve, I actually think that advice is harmful if you're an entrepreneur in the beginning stages. Now, if you already are pretty clear, that's great. You're going to get something out of this episode too. I'm speaking specifically to those of you that have, if you're honest, you've been hesitating to even get started and even just launch that blog or start your website or put your first Instagram post, letting people know what you're up to out there because you're not clear. I want to give you massive permission to start exactly where you are right now and challenge this business advice just a little bit. So obviously you do want to eventually work to get more and more clear, but in the early stages, you might actually miss the path that you're supposed to take if you get too laser focused. If you heard an episode I did a few weeks ago, it was actually episode 179, where I talked about what I lovingly refer to as my buffet year. This is almost like part 2. So we're going to talk a little bit about giving yourself permission to try different paths with the intention, and here's really the key. The intention is to narrow it down over time. So I talked to a lot of, especially our 6-figure school women. Last year, I got a chance to connect with a few of them one-on-one and just do a little live mentoring. And something that I noticed a lot was this concern that, okay, maybe my general area of focus is health, but I don't know, am I focusing on moms? Am I focusing on athletes? Am I focusing on, a lot of confusion around, well, I have these multi-passions. I have a lot of different things that I'm excited about that I could see being a part of my business. And I need to choose one before I can even get started and focus in, because I couldn't possibly, include all of them in one business. And the truth is that scattered focus will give you scattered results in the long run. However, here's what I want you to think about. So imagine, the analogy of tunnel vision. So like if you can't see me right now, like if my hands are on both sides of my eyes and I'm narrowing my focus, I can only see right what's in front of me. What I miss is something that may be off to the left or to the right. If I'm too focused too early on, I may end up going down a path that doesn't leave me enough flexibility to really step in a different direction if that's where I feel I'm meant to go. Not that you can't, but here's what I find really is true, is that if you start with a little bit wider focus, so you have an idea of the problem, the kind of problem you want to solve, you're in the world of it, but you give yourself permission to try on a few different ways that could look. So this could be in the actual services that you provide. So let's say you want to do some sort of health coaching. You could give yourself permission to try coaching groups of people, to try coaching one-on-one. Maybe you're trying some in-person and you're trying some online. The goal being maybe to narrow down the actual delivery of the services. But in the beginning, how do you know what you are good at, what you like, what gives the best results until you give yourself some permission to try on a few different things? So this is also a great, it's permission to allow yourself to test out different types of content. So again, maybe you have a variety of different passions and you don't know what's going to resonate with your audience. So if you say, okay, I'm only going to share content about fat loss. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about because, someone told me that I had to narrow down my niche. Well, then you might miss the content that the people who are drawn to you actually want to learn. So I think one of the areas we can give ourselves a little bit more permission to start broad and then narrow down is in terms of the kind of content that we create, whether it's for social media, maybe YouTube, wherever you are producing content. And then you want to notice who is drawn to you and your message. So again, the goal is to eventually start to narrow in on who you serve and, the marketing message behind it. But to do that, you want to get feedback from the actual people that you're serving. So I use this example a lot that, when it came to Powerhouse Women, I think people see now that we seem pretty clear about why we exist and who we serve. Our motto is we're not meant to do business or life alone. But the truth is, this does not look exactly like I thought it would in the beginning. And if I'd been too tied to exactly what I thought our tagline was supposed to be or our focus was supposed to be, I actually would have missed the opportunity to serve a large portion of the women that we serve. So when I first started the community, I was really focused on solely female entrepreneurs, people who were already entrepreneurs, they had a business. And what I started to notice, so again, paying attention to the feedback I got, paying attention to the people who showed up at our events and that, showed up in our audience and, started to engage with the content that we were putting out. I noticed that we had a lot of people who, it would almost sound like this. Well, I know I'm not a business owner, so I don't know if this is really for me, but I really resonate with this. I know there's more for me. And that started to show me the real direction that I believe we're meant to go. That we actually capture a large part of our audience of people who maybe they wouldn't use the term entrepreneur to describe themselves, but they have a blog or a passion project or an Etsy store. They know deep down they're meant for more. So if I was speaking only this direct, very entrepreneur, go-getter language versus focusing on the community, I actually might have missed the opportunity to serve really some of my favorite women to serve when they're in those early stages and just need some support and encouragement and love to take the first few steps. The other thing is that I didn't come up with the motto that we're not meant to do business or life alone on purpose. It was kind of an accident. So this is what I mean by, don't get too hyper-focused in you need the perfect marketing tagline before you can ever make a difference. I actually think the best marketing copy comes when we listen and incorporate the words of our audience. So I've shared this on other podcasts, and maybe you've heard me share this story before, but the whole motto of we're not meant to do business or life alone was something that I said from stage at one of our Powerhouse Women events, the second year. And it wasn't even meant to be this big point. But what I noticed, and this is key, you have to pay attention to what your people are telling you, what feedback they're giving you based on what they're resonating with or resharing. And that was the one quote that was reshared and quoted by other people most from that event, an overwhelming number. And here I wanted to focus so much on the tactical business stuff, which we do that too. But the heart of Powerhouse Women is community. And so give yourself that same permission to be 2 years into your business and just finally getting clear about what your perfect tagline is. We would have missed the opportunity to impact a lot of lives. And actually, we probably never would have come to that tagline at all if we had been sitting around waiting to get it perfectly narrowed down in this perfect niche before we ever got started. So I've been using this word feedback a lot. Spoiler alert, because this is a series that I'm doing over the next 7 weeks. The very next solo episode, so next week's solo episode on Tuesday, is going to talk about feedback. I'm going to be talking about getting constant feedback and what it can really do for you, how it can help you narrow down, and then also just scale up, right? Narrow down your focus, but then scale your business up. So I'm really excited about that episode. That's one of my favorite topics to talk about. And, if you are already pretty clear on this, great. You can still go back and look at where are you getting in your own way. Maybe it's something new you're going to create or, an evolution of your business that is going to allow it to scale that maybe you realize you've been hesitating or dragging your feet because you don't feel totally clear yet. Just know, and I really want you to hear this, every single time I go to create something for the first time or launch it for the first time, it inevitably changes over the second or third or fourth launch. every time. So now I know better than to allow myself to get stuck in perfectionism or wanting to have it all together. I know that I just need to launch it. I need to get started and then collect feedback along the way in order to start honing in exactly what that message is really meant to be. So this is a reminder that last week we made a big announcement. If you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and check it out. We announced that we've officially opened the doors for something really, really exciting. The Girl Gang membership community is the space where our motto of "we are not meant to do business or life alone" literally comes to life. We are going to be diving so much deeper into topics just like this. You can get support from other women who are just a step or 2 or 10 ahead of you. And we're going to connect on monthly connection calls. So if you attended any of our free connection calls over the last year, we're bringing those back better than ever. And we've got so many other surprises in store. So you can get all the details, and you guys, you can literally join for $1. We wanted to make this really approachable. It's $1 for the first month. You can check it out and get to know people, start to network, and then it's $25 a month after that. You will not find another space that is as supportive, as encouraging as the Powerhouse community. So if you've been kind of like listening to the podcast, just kind of creeping on us on social media, it's fine. I love a good light internet stalk. But here's my invitation to you. This whole experience, and if you hear me say every week, "You're not meant to do business or life alone," and deep down you're like, "Lindsay, that sounds awesome on a t-shirt, but I still feel alone," then this is my loving reminder to you. You have to take the first step. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in community with others who are also taking that step of investing in themselves and showing up saying, "Okay, I may be scared. I may be totally intimidated. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to do this together." And that is exactly what we're creating in this space. So join at, I'm going to give you the website, and then you can also find it in the show notes. But here's the other thing. Every month, the very first Wednesday of the month, we are doing these live connection calls. So if you're listening to this episode the day it goes live, tomorrow night is the first connection call. And I have a really, really special guest. We're talking all about collaboration. This is not one that you want to miss. So, check it out. Join for $1. See how you like it. Start to meet some women. And I know that you're going to see this as the space that you and your business can really grow this year. So I cannot wait to meet you in the Girl Gang. And I also cannot wait to have you come back week after week over this next 7 weeks. And we're going to really be diving into these basic elements. So connect with us on social media. You know the drill. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's making an impact in your life, what you want to hear next. And, really the party is going to go down in the Girl Gang. So check out the link in the show notes, and I cannot wait to meet you there.